Here we go.
All right, hi everybody. Welcome to the 53rd annual high school design competition. Glad to see you all here. My name is Ryan Lee. I am the chair of this competition. And before we get into this, I'm going to hand it over to Alan Sandler, the executive director of the Architectural Foundation of San Francisco, for a brief intro.
Good afternoon, everyone, or morning, depending on where you are in the world. It's been an interesting design competition this year. We've had entries from literally all over the world, not just the San Francisco Bay Area. And you've made, all of you, all the students and their mentors and their teachers have made it a really difficult problem for our jury because your work has really been incredible. I'm just going to do a brief introduction, thanking all of you, thanking all the students, all the teachers, and also thanking the folks who helped put this together, particularly Ryan Lee, who's vice president of our board of directors, and also the chairman of the high school design competition. For those few of you who don't know, Ryan entered the high school design competition when he was a student. I won't say how long ago. And he won multiple times. And one of the awards for winning multiple times is you get to be the chairman of the award when you get a little older. So Ryan, let me kick it back to you. Thank you for doing this. And it's a wonderful competition, wonderful work. And you'll see the incredible quality of all the work that the students have done. Ryan?
Thanks, Alan. So just to kind of kick off, we always try to frame these projects around real world projects and design opportunities that are happening currently, specifically here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I know there are a lot of you who are actually based elsewhere, and thank you for participating in this from afar. But all of this is driven with the intent to sort of get everyone's heads around real world issues that planners, designers, engineers, everyone in the sort of architecture, engineering, and construction process are engaged in developing in terms of building up the communities that we all share. So a little quick design context going into this year's competition brief. This was all sort of framed around sort of the overall basis of Mayor London Breed announcing her 2021 climate action plan, which basically was highlighting these 6 key sectors. And the area of focus specifically for this year's competition was number 3, transportation and land use. Although a lot of those sort of 6 opportunities kind of weave together. Basically, this was sort of situated around the idea of investing in public and active transportation projects, looking at density and really what a transit-oriented development is in terms of increasing density and increasing access and sort of usability for a particular neighborhood that could then expand for equitable access elsewhere via the transportation hub in this case. So knowing that Salesforce Transit Center in downtown San Francisco exists as a major hub, part of that is sort of getting down there through this downtown rail extension, which will extend sort of the future lines of Caltrain, which currently terminate at 4th and King Street in the city, but also potentially open up the opportunity for the future for high-speed California rail service to terminate there. So with all of that in mind, SF Planning has gone through sort of a very rigorous process up until this point and planning what this downtown rail extension will be, how it will weave through the city, and looking at potential opportunities for railway stations along the way and sort of increase sort of transit hubs dotted along that route. A lot of that specifically here, as it relates to the Pennsylvania Avenue extension project, is really to kind of talk about this sort of intersection between Mission Bay, Potrero Hill, Soma, Dogpatch, all within the area of the site that all of the students explored this year. So here's that route, as you can see, running along the eastern edge of the city as it makes its way downtown towards Salesforce. And along that route is the potential proposed Mariposa Street Transit Hub station. So you can see the project site here, situated again between sort of the sort of nexus of Potrero Hill, the Central Waterfront Dogpatch, and Mission Bay. Zooming in a little bit closer to the site, this infill project just alongside 280 runs pretty linear with a sloping hill that runs high to low from Mariposa, then down south towards Pennsylvania Avenue. A few site photos of what it looks like today. And I know a lot of the students made their way out here, did a little site visit to sort of soak in the site for themselves and sort of really draw inspiration from being there in person. An idea of what the sort of neighborhood context palette is, especially for those of you who are designing this from afar. And all of the program elements that the students worked on kind of revolved around some major areas. The first one being a transit-focused grand hall, which included everything from your main entrance and lobby to ticketing, waiting halls, etc. Looking at a commercial program that brought in a retail space along with a micro-mobility repair shop and a restaurant and cafe F&B opportunity. And then the idea of embedding the transit hub with social amenities, specifically community-based social amenities such as a senior center and an outpatient medical clinic. All of that plus exterior space of considering how a public plaza could be utilized on site. It was a massive program brief for all of you to take in, digest, and really interpret in your own ways. And we commend all of you for being able to kind of soak in all of this information and really kind of put thought to paper and really come up with some really creative ideas for this. So all of you were very much in considering your big ideas, looking at how to draw inspiration from either sustainability, diversity on site, all of these things we definitely saw come through in all of your work. So for this year, we had a total of 142 total participants, and that was across 77 total entries, 29 of which fell into the individual category, 38 for group, and 10 for design process. Of those entries, we had entries from 4 countries, China, Taiwan, South Korea, and the United States. We also had 5 total states participate from California, Florida, New York, Ohio, and Texas. 13 total schools, all listed here. A lot of schools here in the Bay Area. So Burlingame, Cupertino, Mills, Lowell, Soda, and then all of our other schools elsewhere, the affiliated high school of South China Normal University, the Design and Architecture Senior High School in Miami, Florida, Flower Mound High School in Texas, the Institute for Collaborative Education in New York, Korea International School, as well as the North London Collegiate School, both in South Korea, and Taipei American School and Westlake High School. So thank you all for your participation in this, and especially huge thanks to all of the teachers who helped guide all of you students through this process. It's not a simple task to sort of digest the program and then guide all of your students through what was a very impressive outcome all the way across the board. So thank you all for that. I do want to highlight a specific teacher here. This is the teacher who 21 years ago, I stepped into high school at Lowell High School and started in this architecture class, Julian Pollock, who will be retiring after this year and has submitted and sent through his last batch of students into this competition. I just personally want to thank you for the 4 years that I participated in architecture there and continue to have a relationship with you, both in coming back to the classroom, helping to talk to the students, and then having the sort of back and forth in this position here now. I think it was kind of an interesting coincidence that I actually bumped into you just randomly out on the hiking trail yesterday, because I very much look forward to bumping into you out in that form and not necessarily zooming into your classroom anymore. So thank you for all that you've done and have a fantastic retirement. This year, we are giving away 15 total awards from 8 schools. Of the jury panel, we had 4 incredible jurors who spent all their weekend looking at all of your work and deliberating very diligently in terms of how to give out these awards. We have Amanda Bridges, senior architectural professional at SOM. She's also a lecturer at UC Berkeley and Stanford as well. I didn't add that in, and is our newest AFSF board member. We don't have enough of like tech space here to fit all the things that Amanda does here. Otherwise, I would have included it all. We have our veteran judge, Glenn Katz, principal of Barrington Studios and lecturer in the civil engineering department in the architecture class at Stanford University. Lauren Ciapolo, architect with TEF Design, and Isis Spinola Schwartz, who is the CEO of Forge Development Partners, who are our annual competition sponsor. So you'll be hearing from all of these individuals very shortly. But again, thank you all for your participation in reviewing all of the work. And again, thank you to our competition sponsor, Forge Development Partners, who have participated as a sponsor for this with their support of their CEO, Richard Hannum, who is also an AFSF board member, founding board member. So thank you guys for all of that support as well. And to all of our competition participants, huge congratulations from everyone at AFSF, not just Alan and myself, but all of our board of directors and our advisory board as well. So thank you all for your participation. So with that, we're going to jump right into our awards for design process entry. You'll notice that for some of these awards too, we actually may have pulled some of your entries into other categories just because we best saw fit to give you the best kind of recognition for what we saw in a lot of your work. So even if you may have not have submitted for one of these categories, there are definite positive reasons as to why you are being awarded here today. So our first design process entry category honorable mention goes to Qingling Ruan of Mills High School for the project Mariposa Street Station, Energy Saving Transit-Oriented Development. Glenn, are you kicking us off with this one?
Sure, let's go ahead and talk about, is Qingling here? Let's go ahead and kind of survey the list. Hang on, I'm gonna scroll on down there. Looks like may not be here. Well, what we really loved about this project, just to get everyone a sense of like where we were coming from, was really in this process that is being demonstrated here, there's really a reverence for understanding the role of precedents and examples that we can learn from. Something that as we as architects always need to be doing is thinking about what we can learn from lessons of the past that we can pull forward. And Qingling really pulled on several very successful examples and looked at them in a very detailed way. So there was a Denver Union Station, as well as one of the stations in China, where we were looking at, not only sort of why the lesson was, or why the example was chosen as an example that we could learn from, but then also pull forward into a detailed analysis and some lessons learned. So just as respect for the history and the lessons that can be carried forward as we then try to apply it to this specific and unique context here in San Francisco. It's just a really great example of a type of process that would really benefit, almost any project. So, that's really what we're rewarding here. It's just that kind of looking back and learning what we can from the many things that have been tried in the past, and then taking the best lessons forward.
Thanks, Glenn. There's a lot going on here in this deck, and I think a lot of this too was also about describing some of the design through precedent imagery, really kind of being able to kind of help articulate what the intent of the space is here, using precedent imagery in terms of what's been done as a reference. We do this all the time in a lot of our early inspiration work, and this is just part of that process that we don't see presented in this form as much as maybe we would like to see, because I know that all of you guys are thinking of it from similar perspectives. So congratulations there. We're going to go right into our third place entry for this. Third place for design process entry goes to Olivia Edwards for her project Under My Wing from Lowell High School.
So congratulations to Olivia. What we really liked about your PDF slides is that you presented a lot of sketches of your design process. You gave qualitative descriptions of your reference of the moth, and also had a lot of site observations. You included all of your site notes. You discussed the freeway height and the relationship and priorities of circulation access points to the site, like what would be ideal locations for stairs. And we really appreciated that you thought a little outside the box about your modeling material of using clay, because you felt that Revit could not express what you wanted as well. And I think the design profession comes across this a lot, and there's new technologies that are brought from other industries to describe projects all the time. So congratulations to Olivia.
Olivia, are you here with us?
Let's see her on the call.
It's okay. Well, congratulations, Olivia, and thank you for your participation. Second place for design process entry goes to Leslie Ann Chua for her project Metro Map Hub, Lowell High School. Leslie, are you here?
You're not seeing her on the list. Well, but let's go ahead and talk about what we liked about the project. Okay, Metro Map Hub was actually a lot of fun for us to follow through as jurors in terms of trying to understand the process, because it's incredibly well laid out. There's a very clear path from thinking at the highest level about the site and this inspiration, which is really these metro maps, these interconnected nodes and the colors that tie them all together. And you can sort of see that process following through the initial brainstorming sketches, then she'll move forward into a little bit of an analysis matrix. And finally, we get to these preliminary diagrams, and really these diagrammatic sketches are ones that we really kind of enjoyed. So it's ones where we're looking at these floor plan views, but seeing them overlaid with this almost looks like the metro lines, marking out the circulation paths and just the flow of activities kind of through the different spaces. So just be independent of the actual design itself, just understanding the thinking process, making that really clear so that we can appreciate it is something we always love as people who are consuming your designs, because the finished artifacts are great, but really knowing what's going through your minds makes it really special. It helps us to really appreciate where you ended up so much more. So this consideration of really what could be modeled well and what, when we needed to, just could revert back to hand drawing, which is perfectly okay. Sometimes that's the best way to express your idea. And it's really just all about expressing it. And then even as that final image of really how that whole thing that motivated us with these connections between the spaces, how that could turn into super graphics that could actually end up as decals on the walls of the station. Just really, it was a very complete package that really helped us understand the thinking and how that thinking actually ultimately worked its way into the finished product. So yeah, it was just really great from that standpoint. Yeah, everyone can learn from just how to present that process and how helpful that is to the people that are trying to understand not only where you ended up, but how you got there.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. Our next award, first place in this category, design process, goes to number 56, Brody Andrews, Leah Markle, and Travis G for their project Metamorphosis, also of Lowell High School.
So yes, a huge congratulations to Brody, Leah, and Travis. I did see Travis's name in the participants, so maybe after I say a few words, I would love to hear, we would all love to hear from your team. I think what we loved about this project is this concept, you see it in the first sentence, about life cycle. And this notion of life cycle and metamorphosis not only is related to the butterfly as they described it, but is also a concept in environmental design and related to architecture and how a building works. As you can see, as Ryan is going through the slides, this is a very clear presentation. Not only is the design arc and the big idea very clear, but it's got great graphics. We thought that the hand sketches were really fantastic. And that just the conceptual study and analysis throughout this project created some really awesome results. I mean, I think that kind of swooping forms we all really were drawn to. I think that images of the process images of your model, which we'll see in a little bit, were really fantastic. I think that some descriptions that you see in these renderings here, where, the rendering, maybe as it's developed, it will have more people or furniture or something, but even just one sentence about what the intentionality of is behind it is really helpful for us, I think, as judges. And here, these process images from the model, I just think are awesome. It gives us a kind of tangible textured element, and really represents the kind of overall scheme really well. And so again, the kind of big idea, just passing through the whole presentation is what we loved. And we would love to hear from your team if anyone is on and able to unmute themselves.
Yeah. Hi, this is Travis here. This is kind of crazy because this is like my last competition I'll be participating in with AFSF. It's like my 5th competition, I think. So I think like this project was really able to like show the transformation of like how I shown like my process of working and stuff like that. I like combined a lot of like experience I've had from previous competitions all into this design. And it was really fun being able to work with everyone. We're all seniors, so yeah, we're just really glad that we were able to participate in these competitions.
Yeah, I agree. This is a really great way to like kind of end off the year and end off the architecture experience, especially with 2 people that I've kind of grown a lot closer with over time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for chiming in. Congratulations again. And I hope everyone, now gets to see your project and is enjoying it as much as we did. So thank you. And congratulations on finishing up your year.
Seniors, congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Really a lot of great clarity in the project and a lot of really great studies into exploration we could really tell what you guys are interested in this project, and all of that really came through fantastically. So congratulations.
One fantastic outcome is like, it's successful because the judges all wanted to see where you were going to go next with us. And when you leave us wanting more, that is always a really good sign. So it really was a fantastic concept. And yeah, we'd love to see like what you do next with it, because it seemed really interesting.
Now we're going to move on to the awards for our group entry category. I believe we have 3 honorable mentions to give away here. The first one goes to group number 14, Nander, Tanner, and Liam from Westlake High School for their project Comfort, Efficiency, and Attractiveness.
Congratulations on your honorable mention for the group project. We really recognize that you took the prompt, you paid a lot of attention to detail, you laid out your spaces in very well thought through ways, and you have a clear understanding of scale. The building, both in plan and elevation, it all kind of went hand in hand with the amount of space that you had, and you were thinking about circulation and flow. And we appreciated all of your elevations in which you added shading, and that gave depth, so we could really understand what was in the foreground and what was kind of receding from view. And so we really applaud you on your thoroughness and clean presentation that you presented to us. And it's really a great group of work. So congratulations.
Nander, I see your name. Are you and any of your other teammates here? And would you like to say a few words about the process and what you thought about it all?
Yeah. So, in our main goal, there's so much stuff that we had to consider on this. I don't know where to start, but we basically wanted our project to look good, but also have function well. So like, we try to make the roof slightly angled. So like the long side would be full of solar panels that face the south. And well, we wanted to also obviously consider the railways that go below. So like we included a lot of escalators, systems, and all that stuff. So yeah. And I'm very happy to be part of this competition. Thanks.
Well, great job to your whole team.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Next up, honorable mention group category goes to the Tri-Center by Alvina, Joanna, and Ryan of Burlingame High School. Are any of the three of you here with us today?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Joanna. How's it going? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to talk about in terms of this project and what your kind of big idea was and what you guys were aiming for here?
Yeah, so we wanted to create a more kind of, if you look more into the slides, these are more inspiration slides. And so we wanted to do kind of 3 different separate parts of the site and connect it together through small spaces and big spaces. So if you can see in our later slides, we tried to have this theme go throughout the whole building. And our facades also. We try to like have these curved features throughout the whole entire site to make it more connected.
That's great. Yes, I think what we were really drawn to in the project is exactly what you're talking about, which this kind of notion of breaking this really large mass into smaller pieces and creating these activated, awesome public opportunities for cohesion through, around, under, and above these smaller volumes. I think that's just like a really great and kind of sophisticated step to take for this project. And we were all, I think all the judges, we were all really really kind of inspired by that aspect of the project. I think there's a landscape story. There are trees, there are really beautiful renderings here. We can see those. And I think that kind of intricacy and you're really focusing on the journey of people and individuals as well as the community through the buildings and spaces. So we really were taken and struck by those aspects. And the outdoor amphitheater especially, we talked about several times. We thought that was wonderful, a wonderful way to face out towards the community while also drawing people into the project and into the building as well. So that's what we're really excited about. And congratulations again on the honorable mention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Next award for group entry, honorable mention, goes to Sia Maggiore and Montes for their project Modern Transit-Oriented Development, Westlake High School. Sia, I think I saw your name on here.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, congratulations. Would you like to talk a little bit about your project?
Yeah, we just had a great time doing this project. It's our last project together, and we just wanted to go all out. We got some reference from the Leonardo cube, and we used that as like the top of our glass for the second floor. And then we wanted to go for a more modern effect with wood paneling on the sides. And yeah.
I really like this time management slide in here. Were you guys really actually able to stick to this schedule and pace out the process of all of this?
For the most part, with it being senior year, it was a little difficult to stay on task, but we were able to get ourselves together at the end and finish it up.
Awesome.
Also, if I may, this is Isis, I wanted to add to it. One of the things that was just very impressive to us, and then as the entire team agreed upon, is that the modernist feel and the sustainability aspect of your project, starting with you incorporated the solar panels and the types of window panels that you incorporated into your design, and the roof garden as well, and the connection, with the corner of Mariposa and Pennsylvania Street. And one other item that I wanted to mention is that what was the inspiration for the curtain wall, the glass on the second floor? Because it has a very modernist, organic feel to it. And I think, Ryan, if you keep going, we'll have an elevation of that as well. What it looked to us as something that is very 60s, very modernist, early modernist, but it also has a very like 21st century approach to it. And all of that, it was very intriguing to us. So what was the inspiration there?
We used the inspiration of the Leonardo cube. We had seen some references, and all three of us were drawn to it, and we thought it'd be such a great way to bring in natural light, with it being San Francisco and it being a sunny area.
Great. It really comes through. And if you were to look at some modernist designers like Niemeyer, he's a very well-known Brazilian architect. He did some United Nations projects. You'll see that some of the items like the Leonardo cube are also expressed in his designs. So it will be great for you to take a look and see how these types of ideas have great applications in the modern world. Congratulations, great project.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Congratulations, you guys. Moving on to third place in our group entry category. This goes to Brianna, Angelin, and Taylor, their project Topography Center of Burlingame High School. Brianna, Angelin, Taylor, anybody here?
Yeah, hi, I'm here.
Hi, Angelin, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Would you like to speak to your project a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So when we were originally drafting ideas, we were kind of thinking about like the natural like geography of San Francisco. And we thought about like, well, San Francisco is like very famous for being a very hilly place. And we thought it'd be really interesting to incorporate some of that like hilly texture into the building. And then as a result, we also decided to like place the senior center on the second floor on top of like the hill-like structure formed by the first floor to kind of symbolize how like we built this community on like a very strong foundation, I think. And we tried to prioritize the location of areas as much as possible and place them in like very accessible places. And we also like wanted to allow for as much natural light as possible, which kind of explains all of the glass walls and windows. But yeah, thank you so much.
No, it's definitely a very sort of evocative form that's sort of embedded here into the site, and the way that, you know, everyone's sort of taken a different approach to this very unique site in particular, with the elevation change, with the sort of long linear cutout, with the adjacency to the freeway. You know, I think being able to kind of break the mold of just a pure extrusion and to really kind of create these pockets of space through the sort of notion of a hilly topography, and even being able to embed that notion of a hilly topography into your canted facades are all definite aspects of this building that all of the judges were intrigued by. Does anybody else have comments on this one?
I would add, yeah, that I think it takes a kind of unique, it's difficult and challenging to create walls that are not orthogonal or kind of at a 90-degree angle with the ground or the floor. And I think that we admire that you're taking on that challenge and kind of just go with it. I mean, the rendering to the right with ticketing under it, we can see that, you know, that really creates a really interesting kind of texture to the light and the space, and it creates a kind of dynamic form. And we really admired that you took on that challenge, and it creates a pretty interesting and dynamic from the exterior as well. So congratulations.
And I'd add in, yeah, we love the form of the building very much. One thing that we all spent some time talking about was we'd love to see where this form and these kind of shapes start integrated into the actual site. Like what would actually happen if, you know, we took these curvaceous amoeba-like forms and, you know, kind of got some of the landscape around there kind of integrated into that, if that sort of organic shape could sort of start growing out of the site or connecting to it and stuff like that. So again, it's one of those things when you leave us wanting to kind of talk to you about the next steps and where you'd go even further with the process, that's always a good thing. That means you really had us engaged because we really care about the project and like what could happen with it.
Great, congratulations, you guys. All right, second place for the group entry category goes to Toby and Garvin of Lowell High School for their project Waves Transit Center. Toby, Garvin, are either of you here?
Hello, I'm Garvin. Thank you so much.
Garvin, like to kind of walk us through your project a bit as I flip through the slides here?
Yeah, so we were thinking of the birds in Lake Merced and how they travel on the water and how we see them moving around. And we were thinking about how the waters actually travel instead. And we decided to incorporate the wave design onto the roof and the stairs, if you can see the rendering. And yeah, that's basically how we decided on this design.
Very good. And some nice rendering. Toby, is Toby there too? It says his mic's not working. Okay, I see that in the chat. Okay. Well, thank you guys for going ahead and sharing. Let me go ahead and comment on why we love this project so much. Really, you guys created a very just sophisticated form. It really is a very interesting, very intriguing building. You know, it would be a landmark. You want to see this, but it does it in kind of a very, again, sort of sophisticated way in that you're not taking up the whole site. It's actually sort of modest what you're doing. You're kind of receding back into the hill a little bit. You're leaving a big public plaza. We have that nice sort of sheltered space, which you envision as an art space or a public plaza for performances. You know, just the overall kind of relationship to the site and how it's really inviting that community. And this just isn't a train station, but it really starts to speak to that whole notion of being a hub that can bring everyone together. Yeah, that really spoke to us. The articulation of the roof is really interesting. The windows on the 280 side are quite interesting. It's just really quite a nice, again, modest, but quite fascinating composition. But then what really sells this and what really elevates you over the top is these renderings you've created are just very fantastic. So our hats off to you on that front, in that not only are you using the tools well, but the way you use your people and you tell stories, you know, you really start to understand the user experience of what's going to happen here. And that totally sells the concept. You can picture this in the neighborhood and how it would bring people together. And just that total package of how you are just sharing that story and we can buy into that story just really, you know, propels it right up towards the top. So congratulations. You guys are doing incredibly well with using these tools to share your ideas with us. So thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'd like to mention that this design, just like the previous one, what it does, it really integrates the building with the surrounding site. You know, it's nice to see the flow from the corner of Pennsylvania and Mariposa Street, that people can arrive on site at one level and then move throughout the building, but it opens itself up to the street. And like what Glenn said, it's very subtle, but it's also very inviting though, in that the incorporation of landscape and then big open plazas into your space to make this building welcoming, a true community center, is really fantastic. And we were very, very pleased to see this project in its entirety. Thank you.
Awesome. And you guys are both 10th graders, right? So that's pretty impressive to be able to pull off a detailed model and renderings of that caliber for what I'm probably guessing is maybe your first design project. Correct me if I'm wrong, but really impressive work and visualization from you guys. So thank you.
Thank you.
And first place for group entry goes to Isaac and Amelia, their project Potrero Go Transit Center, Ruth Asawa School of the Arts. I know Isaac's on here because Isaac's been participating in these competitions for a long time. Amelia, are you here with us too?
I'm here. My name is Isaac. I think Amelia's here. She might be able to hop on too.
Good. Well, Isaac, go ahead and why don't you talk us through a little bit about your project here?
Yeah, well, so I guess I would start with saying that Amelia and I came together as we have very similar interests and like both the architecture side, sustainability, but we also like both enjoy spending time in nature and in the outdoors. And that really influenced a lot of where we wanted to take the equitable aspect of this development, like in order to like bring equity to everybody in San Francisco, which is really urban. For
yeah,
us,
I think that we also wanted to like make sure that everyone could experience these like outdoor things that we really both love to like have access to in the city. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, congratulations to you both. We were all very impressed, the jurors here, by your presentation of process. You're very much thinking about all aspects that are critical and important to design. Your site topography is integral, or the topography is integral to your design. You have different moments. You have breathing space for these really busy transit hubs where a lot of people are moving through. Your concept carried out throughout your design. It was, thought of at every level. And we also really appreciated your floor plans, the use of color, just enough like text and explanation. And it's just very, and your hand sketches were they had a lot of character, and even the fact that you had like the floor plan with the section on the same page, it lets us understand those relationships. And we felt that this was a really site appropriate design and overall concept. So very good job to both of you.
Thank you. And I think like, I also want to just like thank Tara, our teacher, who like, well, one spent so much time like instructing us and helping us, but also like there were so many times when we were like very fixed on something that we thought was the right way to respond to the site or the program, but she made us go back and do more sketches and then redo a model and then do another study model and then do another watercolor, and then we ended up here.
The getting stuck happens a lot sometimes. So it's important to have other perspectives, which is why I think in architecture we always work in studio groups, because we feed off of each other. And I didn't mention this before, but we also appreciated your plant slides. So you're talking about natives, and that is also a component, and it's also something we all have to consider in design and the management of stormwater, et cetera, in the real world. So great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, to both of you, it's a very comprehensive presentation. The clarity in the sort of narrative that you guys told in your slides, from sort of conception to execution to where you got to here, is very clear all the way throughout. And you can really tell that even though you may have had to have gone back and re-sketched out over ideas and sort of pulled a little bit from this and another piece from a different aspect of your drawing at a different point in time, that it was all still heading sort of in the sort of one singular direction that you guys set out very clearly from the beginning. So there's a lot to be commended about over just clarity in presentation and storytelling around this one too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Congratulations, you guys. And so with that, we can move on to our category for individual entry. Our first honorable mention in this category goes to Lee Tae-won for the Ock Center. Lee of the North London Collegiate School, Jeju. I don't think Lee is here with us, but I think we can talk a little bit about his work. We're recording this, and we're definitely gonna be able to send this out to everybody who participated. So if, Amanda, you want to jump into this one? And
absolutely. Well, Lee may be watching this later. Wow, I think we were all your presentation, and we're just really wowed by, I mean, the clarity of the diagrams, just a really, really strong aesthetic that carried through the whole project. I think that the kind of concept diagrams, the renderings are fantastic. These notions of how people walk through and into the spaces, these different hierarchies of scale. So we can see here, the medical clinics a different size than the cafe or restaurant, and that's reflected in the section. And I think that's just a kind of level of sophistication we're really impressed by. Again, the diagrams are really great. I think overall the project or the building has an incredible kind of structural aesthetic. It almost has an urban renewal feel. We loved that we were seeing things like bikes and transportation and pedestrian aspects kind of reflected in these images. Again, similar to some of the other projects, the use of people, furniture, entourage in the renderings didn't feel accidental. It was extremely intentional. Again, here you can see the kind of, again, the structural intention. I think just like overall, what we thought was just really impressive was this intentional aesthetic that carried through the whole project. There was a consideration of function and really having really functional spaces, the farmers market shown there. And again, it felt like an aesthetic that where every rendering, every diagram feels like it's coming from the same project. And we really understood the story that you were telling through the whole thing. So with that, I would say if any other of the judges had any other comments, but congratulations and thanks for sharing your work.
I think I would just add that, some of the spaces, the sort of seamless transitions between them and the transit kind of basically circulation area was very believable and something that we feel like you would actually see in a real transit center. So very good observation on your part.
Awesome. Congratulations. Our next award in the category of individual entry goes to Mingwei Fisher for this project Oasis, Mingwei of the Institute for Collaborative Education. I think you are here with us. Yep, I see your name. Mingwei, would you like to speak a little bit about your project before I turn it over to Amanda?
Yeah, for sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, the challenge for me for this project was the site. I think it was very difficult to work with. The highway and the road, it just the access was hard to figure out. But as somewhere along the way, I realized I should just work with the site, not try and fight it. So the main idea was pulling the garden and working with that, which is how I got the green design kind of concept. So yeah.
I think that, yeah, as you're describing it, we kind of understood that feel as well. I think that you did work really well with the topography. We can kind of understand the ground below while looking at your building from above, which is just something that we really admired. I think here you can see the kind of that language of the arch, the way that you use it in different ways at different scales. Sometimes it's open, sometimes it's glazed or enclosed. Was just really beautifully done. We were all struck by your physical model. I think that's really, really impressive model. And I love that you used the model for the photos. I think anyone looking at this right now, it's a great image. The greenery kind of telling its own story from above, and then even kind of dangling down into these spaces is a very interesting and unique idea. And I think, again, that kind of intersection or weaving of ecological and landscape elements into the architecture itself is something that a lot of projects, we're doing, but we just thought you did it really successfully here. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's not a physical model, but my goal is to make it look like one.
But there was a physical model somewhere. But still, well, it's a great aesthetic. We like.
We also like that you had context too showing with your model.
Absolutely.
Also, I want to add is just very subtle. It looks like you said you just struggled with the site at first, and your approach to actually allow the site to dictate what you should do with it by creating this oasis between the apartment blocks and also the freeway. You actually accomplished that in your design. So congratulations for taking a concept, an idea, and working, in a beautiful way to come up and show how this center can become an oasis in this urban core. And you did a beautiful job illustrating your ideas.
Actually, I want to grab on this idea that it wasn't a physical model, it was actually a digital model, and you were able to fool us all because you had us all that looks like a cork model, whether it's foam or whatever. It's, that appeals to us.
Great
romance that we all fell for, which is actually fantastic because there's something about the way you're presenting it. There's a certain cinematic there's a cinematography to the way you present the images and make it look like the camera's moving the model as you frame the different images that really creates this illusion that kind of carried us on this whole narrative. And the fact that you were able to fool us into that is really quite sophisticated. So for everyone who loves the rendering and thinks that we always have to go photorealistic,
right?
Yeah, take a message here that the model-like quality allowed us to enjoy the form without worrying about whether all the colors are accurate. And I think I appreciated the form more because of that.
I completely agree with that. I think it's a reminder that the tools aren't necessarily ends themselves. So digital modeling or hand drafting or physical modeling, it doesn't have to end there. You can always use a blend of methodologies, kind of, mix it up, make it messy, confuse us. I think that that's great. So more power to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, to move on. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I mean, the ability of the concept of extending the garden and really kind of making that read at the forefront of this and having the context recede, having your building recede, even with the sort of the monochromatic coloring, it's really the intention behind that is really great to see.
So hats off to you.
Right. Next award. Third place individual entry goes to Ray Wang, the Ohlone Cultural Center. Ray of the Taipei American School. Ray, I think I saw you on here.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
I just want to thank the Architectural Foundation San Francisco and the jury for this award, and my parents too for their support. And then in terms of the design, I wanted to recognize it's the site's relationship to the environment. So in this case, I wanted to reference the Ohlone Native American culture in terms of the exterior design with the overlapping characteristic of their traditional huts. And then for the movement, I wanted to have a plaza in the facing Mariposa Street because through site analysis, I found that the Mariposa Street had the highest traffic density compared to the avenue, which is why I wanted to mediate that movement sort of. And then the intersection between these two entrances, I have an atrium to sort of, mediate movement as well. Yeah, thank you for the work.
Really, really fantastic job, Ray. And I mean, being also that you're based in Taipei, correct? We're impressed that you referenced the California Native Americans in your design. That was very thoughtful about the site and its context. We really appreciated your site plan, where you mentioned things that were relative to one another, like the schools and the hospital nearby. And you were really, basically all of your floor plans, although they were hand drawn, they were really easy to understand, and they were clear. And that's really the end of the day. I mean, that's what's most important. And your technical, just the quality of your renderings and kind of giving this warmth for the site with the use of that Ohlone reference was something that we all really liked about your project. And you're correct that approaching the site from Mariposa is another very strong observation about the site and context and where everyone will actually be entering into this busy hub. So congratulations on all the work that you did, and we're very, very impressed. Did any other jurors have anything that they wish to add? Okay, great.
Thanks, Raina. I mean, I think a lot of the vignettes here that you framed really capture kind of the essence of what you were going for in a lot of these views. And to really kind of tie it again back to the Ohlone reference, you can even see it like at the scale of building, but even here, like the scale of kiosk, right? You're starting to apply that concept throughout in smaller moments. And it's not just sort of one overall move. So that continuity sort of throughout your project is just one thing that kind of just, you know, enhances its strength. So congratulations again.
One thing I'm really enjoying about this view in particular is you sort of see, you can imagine that original Ohlone hut and what the light experience would be kind of coming through those sticks as they were bundled. And you see it in the facade, you see it in over the skylights. There's kind of, although it's a very modern building compared to the original reference, you're creating that same kind of ethereal quality to it. Like I really love this rendering, although it's a little dark and moody. Yeah, that's what I think its strength is. This feels like a place I'd like to be in, and out of the hot sun. And as I'm going through my busy day, this is a little moment of respite before I hop on the train and go wherever I need to be. So yeah, it's just a really inviting space.
And a lot of these transit centers do especially in California, they have this indoor, outdoor sort of transitional space. So I think you captured that perfectly in the atrium.
Congratulations again, Ray.
Thank you.
And that our next award, second place individual entry, goes to Lauren Chang for Pebble Center. Lauren of Burlingame High School. Lauren, are you on the call with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Lauren. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to talk a little bit about your project and give us an intro before we all heap praise on it?
Sure. So you'll see this is like the site photos, but you'll see soon how I took a design motif of organic shapes because it's really sort of a prevalent design type that's in decor and also in nature. And so I wanted to take that and kind of embed it in my design. And another reason why I chose that kind of pebble design aspect is because I thought it would represent the diversity in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah, so, oh yeah, here is my sketches and diagrams that I did to break up each of the different areas. And then I also sort of, prior to making the model, thought about the relationship between each of the spaces in this diagram and how they would sort of relate to each other in the final design.
So congratulations. This was an entry that all of the judges really, it really spoke to all the judges, and you will hear from everyone. But what I think to me was the most impressive is how you took this organic shape, the pebbles, and the idea of throughout the project, from the concept development to the shape of the spaces within the building, and even on the pavement, like it shows that you have used the pebbles within the ground space of the building. And so that organic feeling is really felt throughout in the separation of the spaces. And it really does show, it creates this tapestry that is San Francisco with all of the different ethnicities and the building itself with all of the different spaces that are interconnected, and yet they are also separate in their own right, and they also have their different expressions. So congratulations for this, carrying through from the design sketches, to, your big idea, all the way to the execution and the great renderings that you have done for this particular entry. So all the best to you.
Thank you.
All the other judges will have other things to say.
I would just add that it's great that you thought outside of, like, I think sometimes it could be easy to get caught up on the property edges, as, oh, that's where the that's where the building needs to go all the way up to that edge. But you really let this project, like you have these great sort of spaces between where the building begins and where the edge of the site starts. And you really have a good understanding of scale and what's, you know, site appropriate, and your whole like area on the back that's right next to that existing park. It really makes that connection and relationship. And it seems like from your rendering too here that your intent is to keep that existing mural at the south wall, which I think as a neighborhood would really be appreciated. So it's a great observation of the site and its existing features. And we really enjoyed looking at your project.
I completely agree. Yeah, with everything that's already been said, the only thing I would add is that sometimes with a big idea or thesis or concept, you can think of it as like, show us, you know, don't tell us. And to me, I think your plan, your drawings, everything from the kind of concept sketches through this final result, we're understanding that kind of, you know, your intention of those organic forms, the notion of the pebbles, really connecting to everything through the site. And so I think that's that continuity and that story that really drew me in.
Yeah, and in fact, I think that image that we're looking at right now, these kind of scalped 3D images of the floor plan, that's a great example of just the power of showing it to us, because as soon as you see that, you know, those couple of views, we immediately start to understand. We don't need a lot of words to put it together, but we're immediately drawn in, and we can imagine coming in that lobby and coming up those escalators and seeing the retail stores in the background. And, you know, a lot of times our mind can fill in the story. So it's almost better just to invite us in and let us fill in the details for you.
Congratulations, Lauren. As a 10th grader, how many design projects have you done to date so far? Or is this fairly new for you?
I've been in the architecture class at Burlingame High School for 2 years now, and thank you for giving feedback on my design and giving me this opportunity as well. And I want to thank Miss Liu, the teacher, and also my classmates who kind of helped me through the design process and worked alongside me when we were in crunch time.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Miss Liu, and congratulations again. Right, moving on to our last and final award for the day. First place in the individual category goes to Josh Park of the Korean International School for Mariposa Center Eco Village. Josh, are you here? If not, you will hear this on demand when you sign in a little later.
See, JP is JP.
I was hoping JP might be Josh Park.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Josh, is that you?
I think JP may have been the name of one of the other group entries that won. So
okay.
No problem.
Might have a time zone difference here. Not sure.
Right. Okay, so Ryan, why don't you go ahead and we'll start running through the slides and we'll just talk about what's going on here. So here we see Josh's building, and you can sort of see, well, the references. So we're getting a little bit of the concept behind it all, drawing on these organic forms like the Nautilus shell, and just how that's going to start affecting our circulation and the overall organization of the spaces. Okay. But what really started drawing us into this is really the whole notion of how Josh is organizing the program around the site and really what he's creating of the site. There's just sort of a really interesting relationship between the different buildings and really the space that is created between them. So the project is called the Equitable, and you can sort of see here a little bit of the analysis, diagrammatic views. Okay, in terms of how the layering is going to work.
1加1是贵物才吃。
Oh, is that Josh?
网上哪来的1加1？不能聊聊，没有1加1。
It might be.
不是这个软件，优质豆浆。
Sure.
I think it's another participant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So now we have these, again, these kind of 3D layered views to kind of help explain and show us the building. But then what really starts getting very strong is when we start seeing how these forms are related to the site.
我不用了，我自己有。
So what's happening here is the building itself is actually fairly modest, but it creates these really welcoming plazas all around.
有没有便宜一点的宝？
Ziba, can you mute your phone, or Alan, are you able to mute some of the participants?
It's Ziba. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we have this side image. You start seeing the spaces themselves, but what's kind of remarkable is really how much of the space is not covered with buildings. It's actually covered with these kind of really inviting plazas that start welcoming people to the site. So maybe Ryan, move ahead to one of the 3D views that show it kind of, you know, in an oblique way. Okay, we have those renderings. These renderings are all quite nice in terms of the shading. But again, when we start thinking about these spaces and these forms and how they all come together, what's really kind of interesting is Josh has put together a series of small experiences. So as opposed to a big center that feels like a huge grand statement that starts to dominate the site, this really is a bunch of small, very human scale experiences that he's actually even, you know, branded. There's the Momo Cafe, there's the Mariposa, oh, I forget which, you know, each of them has their own sort of little branding. And when we start getting into the renderings, you start seeing people using each of those different experiences. So we're starting to understand the space as a series of different like human experiences, events, and how you're actually going to be using it. And in the end, you know, that collection of all these things really starts to feel like a neighborhood center that pulls people in from the community and invites you to be there. So you don't have to be in awe of the space, but you're invited to come in and use the space, and it becomes a part of your life. And really that whole idea of, again, it's sort of sophisticated modesty is really very appealing. So, you know, I think he was very successful in creating a village of different experiences, none of which are overpowering, but all of which are very inviting. And the collective of all that really adds up to kind of a very powerful addition to the neighborhood. So this feels not only like a transit center that'd be great for that function, but this feels like it'd be a great addition to the whole neighborhood and really pull people from the neighborhoods together.
Anybody like to add anything to Glenn's comments?
I would like just to add, you know, like a lot of, like a few of our top entries here, what this project shows, this design, is this connection between nature and the built environment. You know, the most successful ones so far have really incorporated different organic forms and planting, and conceptually thought, you know, hard about how one can actually incorporate the landscape or nature into a very urban project and to create a respite, you know, in the process. It's a very busy center. There's a freeway in the background, and yet as one like is approaching this site, this building, there's so much, so much that speaks to the organic nature of the landscape, and also landscape is incorporated into it. In the materials with the wood, there's a wood facade building, there's diversity in the building facades, so it doesn't feel monolithic. So all of that in this approach allows something as big, as massive as a transit center to look and feel like something that has a more of a human scale. So I really, all of the entries that have taken this approach of integrating nature into that design have been fantastic. And obviously this one has been one of the very best. So congratulations to Josh, I believe, on an amazing submission.
I think I just add also, I think we all like the diversity of people of all ages, races, genders in your renderings as well. It's very appropriate for the neighborhood and context. And also your use of vertical fins on the west side, you know, that's something that I wouldn't necessarily expect for you at your age to know, but that's something we do all the time on west facades. It's appropriate type of solar shading, and the incorporation of the solar panels on the roof. You definitely paid attention to the prompt and the design problem that was presented to you. So great incorporations into your project.
And I guess I'll just say last comment, I would just say that sometimes, you know, getting a project brief or prompt, like a transit center or hub, I mean, to me, what's incredible about this project is it goes like above and beyond that. I think that, you know, when we look at some of those renderings, when we look at some of the spaces, it feels like a place people would want to come to hang out or to go to a cafe or to walk with their child. It's not only about kind of transit or retail, it goes above and beyond that. And I think really becomes an enticing kind of just like lovely space, really articulated through architecture in different ways where, you know, there are things outside, there are things inside, there are things that kind of in between, and just really, really impressive level of development from drawings to renderings through the design execution. So congratulations again.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you, Josh. Thank you for capturing what I think is the spirit of the brief in terms of this idea of inclusivity throughout and creating these nice sort of moments throughout your building that are very scalable to the community and really speak to, you know, exactly everything that all the judges have spoken to today. And so with that, I'd just like to kind of thank everybody for their participation. Congratulations to all of the award winners. Absolutely inspiring and amazed just to see all of the work put forth through. And yeah, just congratulations. Alan, is there anything else that you want to touch on before we sign off for the day?
I just want to again thank everyone for their terrific work. As you can see, the quality of the work is phenomenal. You did not make it easy for the judges. And for those of you who are about to graduate, good luck in whatever you choose to do in the future. And for those of you who are in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, we look forward to seeing you again next year. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And we will make this all available, the awards deck and the recording all available to you. So thank you and have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.